Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Mickey's Premier League review. Apologies for not having an episode last week. Been a bit under the weather. I know that's no excuse, and I know the fans out there demand high-class football punditry, especially at this early stage of the season. So I do apologise, and hopefully tonight's show can offer some recompense for the omission last week. So we're going to look at the weekend's games, obviously, any major talking points, maybe a quick look at any major transfers that have gone through this evening. So bashing on to the weekend's games. First game of the weekend was probably one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. Incredibly tedious affair. I tuned in hoping that Di Maria's signing would reinvigorate Manchester United, that finally they would rise from this slump. And they would provide a good performance, finally put some football together. Again, they were really bad. They resorted to just playing long ball football. The whole point of having or playing a 5-3-2 with two wing backs and three in midfield is that you can boss the midfield area and you're given plenty of width. And all they did was punt the ball up the park to Van Persie and Rooney, neither of whom are a big target man who's going to win every ball in the air. So the Burnley defenders were just lapping it up. Mata looked shocking. His final ball seems to have deserted him. He was very, very disappointing. Di Maria showed some nice touches. Showed a desire to drive with the ball. Played a few nice through balls. Obviously, it'll take a bit of time for him to get used to the Premier League. But even signing him it's just not what they need. I mean, we'll touch upon Falcao later on as well, but Woodward, in my opinion, is doing a shocking job there. I don't understand that Van Gaal likes to play himself as this dictator almost who's in charge of everything. If he's responsible for these signings, then he's doing a bad job because they're signing players they don't need. They need a centre back. They need a defensive midfielder. And against Burnley, they were abject. Burnley played well, could have nicked it. And they'll probably be happy with the point, although Manchester United were there for the taking. Manchester City 0, Stoke 1. An absolute shock of a result. And even more surprising given the quality of the performance that City put in against Liverpool the week before, where they were scintillating at times. I don't know if it was a question of maybe arrogance or they thought they could just turn up and beat Stoke. Stoke were very well disciplined. Ryan Shawcross, I thought, was outstanding as centre-back. And they got their game plan exactly right. Mark Hughes had them set up to hit on the counter-attack. Biram Diouf took his goal exceedingly well, beat a couple of men and drilled it under Joe Hart. I think potentially a sign of concern for Manchester City would be Yaya Touré's early season form. He doesn't look particularly interested. He's sort of ambling about the park, looking a little bit off the pace. Having said that, City had a stonewall penalty turned down. Really, really bad decision from the referee. But overall, I thought Stoke were very good. Manchester City were disappointing. And that might be the sort of kick up the arse they need, just to sort of keep the focus on all the games going forward. Moving on to Newcastle against Palace. A very entertaining game. The defending was absolutely woeful, where there was any defending. Ultimately, it was two young players that made the difference. Young Aarons for Newcastle. Much hyped actually this season. And he looked dangerous, lively. Put in a great cross that Williamson scored from and then scored a late header as well. And for Palace, it was Wilfried Zaha making another return to the club. Making another move away from Manchester United, but returning there. And he seemed to, after the game in his interview with Match of the Day, he seemed to say that it was the sort of confidence he got from being back at Crystal Palace and sort of familiar surroundings that they gave him the boost that he needed. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. Obviously a very talented young man. Probably a move to Man U was too big a step, and the time that he moved probably didn't help. Man U, obviously a club in crisis, and it's probably not a great time to be a young player trying to establish yourself there. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on for the rest of the season. Of course, Neil Warnock's first game back, James Frost's favourite manager, as I seem to remember from our time at university. He knows the league. He's a wise old owl of a manager, quite divisive within football fans, but I think with him at the helm, Palace should do okay this season. I think Alan Pardew will be slightly concerned at how lax defensively Newcastle were, but an entertaining game nonetheless. Moving on to QPR against Sunderland. QPR really needed this result. They won 1-0, and they needed that after a very poor start to the season. Charlie Austin grabbed a goal, should be good for his confidence after the penalty miss. And Leroy Fer made a big difference as well. He's a quality player, and I think over the course of the season he's gonna add a lot to QPR, especially that with Fowler now seriously injured again, which is heartbreaking for him in the club. He seems to be very highly respected and liked at the club, so it's heartbreaking for him. But I think Leroy Fer adds another dimension to the midfield in terms of the ability to go beyond the striker and add a goal scoring threat from midfield. Swansea, again looking excellent in 3-0 victory against West Brom. Really confident, vibrant attacking side this season, Swansea. Gylfi Sigurdsson was again outstanding, and I'll just reiterate my point about him being probably the signing of pre-season. Adds another element to the midfield and got 2 assists again yesterday, really bossing the game. Nathan Dyer looking electric as well on the wing for Swansea. They won 3-0 without Wilfred Boney scoring, which was sort of very reassuring for Swansea. Hopefully they can keep hold of Boney in the transfer window tonight, and then they can push on because they've looked outstanding so far. Very, very attractive team to watch, and Gary Monk's got to take a lot of credit for that. He took over and struggled initially and was subject to quite a lot of criticism, but he seems to have got past that, and he's got Swansea playing the great football that they're famous for. So well done, Gary Monk. Next, West Ham 1, Southampton 3. Now this was a big shock. I myself and several others actually backed West Ham at 7-4 for the win. They looked very good in the week before against Crystal Palace, and with Southampton, the whole raft of new players and having lost so many players, I thought this would be a home banker, but how wrong we were. West Ham are back to their old ways, sort of effectively rudderless up front, lack of penetration. Southampton played some great stuff. Morgan Schneiderlin popping up with a rare couple of goals, showing why he's so highly sought after. He said after the game he didn't say he was committed to Southampton, but he said he would put his all in as long as he was there. So whether Spurs make another bid for him before the transfer window's up, I'm not sure. I don't think they will. They seem fairly well stocked in central midfield with Capoue and young Ben Taleb. But Schneiderlin popped up with a couple of goals, and overall in midfield, Southampton again looked dominant like they did against Liverpool on the opening day. So Ronald Koeman defying expectations at the moment, and an excellent away win for Southampton there. The late kickoff on Saturday was one of the best games that I've had the pleasure of watching in a long time. Everton 3, Chelsea 6, and a frankly ridiculous game of football. Chelsea racing into an early 2-0 lead with goals from Costa and Ivanovic. Ivanovic one obviously was offside. Everton coming back into it, and then Chelsea scoring, Everton coming back into it, and then Chelsea sort of pulling away towards the end of the game. I thought Costa again was outstanding. Really, really good in that figurehead role up front. His movement for the first goal was excellent. He was battling, he was working hard, and there was some talk of him having an attitude problem or something because he was goading Seamus Coleman. But in that instance, I think Tim Howard should have been sent off. He yellow card for starting on him, and then for sticking the forehead on Costa. And I mean, having said that, Howard should also have been sent off in the first half. He's clearly humbled outside the box. With regards to Costa's attitude, he's winding up an opposition member. So when has that not happened in football? It's okay for Coleman and McCarthy to nip away at him and try and get him sent off, but the other way around, it's not okay. So no, I think Costa started really well. Mourinho's going to be ecstatic with how he's fitting in and the work he's putting in for the team. Fabregas again outstanding. Hazard was dangerous. I think Mourinho will be slightly perturbed at the manner in which Chelsea conceded the goals. Defensively looked a bit rocky, and I think John Terry's replacement is going to be a very, very important and interesting decision that Chelsea are going to have to make towards the end of this season and going forward, because defensively they did look a bit shaky against Everton. Set pieces, they didn't look great. Whether that's with a new goalkeeper coming in or not, I'm not sure. Bit of time for him and the centre-backs to adjust. But I think Mourinho will be slightly concerned with the manner in which they conceded those goals. Having said that, another good win, and Chelsea looking like quite an irresistible force at the moment for the league. The Sunday games now. Villa prospered 2-1 against the Hull City Tigers. Villa's great start to the season continues. That's 1 goal they've conceded with 3. They kept the same back 5, and I think it's that continuity which is key for defences. They're all looking really solid, and with Benteke still out, Weimann and Bonlahor stepping up, Fabian Delph putting in a shift in midfield. He recently got called up to the England squad. And Villa just looking good. It seems a happy place to be, which is ironic with Roy Keane's entry into the club, but Villa looking a lot more solid than they have in recent seasons. Maybe not such a big surprise to beat Hull after Hull's midweek exertions in the Europa League. It's a shame that they got knocked out. I'm not sure how Steve Bruce will view it. Perhaps a relief, if also a sort of anti-climax in their sort of maiden European adventure. But I think Hull will be okay. They're spending some money in the transfer window, and they've got a good squad as it is. So in terms of Premier League survival, they'll be fine, and perhaps they could go on another domestic cup run this year. The Spurs-Liverpool game. So this was probably the biggest game of the weekend, and all the talk centred on Mario Balotelli's return. He flitted in and out of the match, did okay, worked hard, missed a couple of really good chances. I thought Sturridge was outstanding. Liverpool actually surprised me with how good they were. I thought they may struggle generally this year without Suarez and the other teams strengthening, but they've started the season very well. I know they were beaten by Man City last week, but here they were excellent. Sturridge buzzed around Balotelli like Suarez did last season. He was very Sturridge. Took past to Henderson, who then set up Sterling, I believe. And Sturridge was a menace all game. Of course, Moreno scored a great goal. Sterling took his goal well, and going forward, they were a joy to watch as they were last season. Defensively, they stopped the Spurs team who've been scoring a number of goals recently. So a highly satisfactory afternoon for Brendan Rodgers, and it'll be interesting to see how Balotelli and and Sturridge get on. I originally thought that perhaps they would be too similar, but based on yesterday's game, perhaps I was wrong. Sturridge did look like he could perhaps play in behind and buzz around. So it'll be interesting to see how those two players click as a strike partnership. But a highly impressive performance from Liverpool. Leicester won, Arsenal won. It's so frustrating watching Arsenal on the pitch and also off it. I think this game encapsulated why Arsene Wenger is now being treated with disdain by some Arsenal fans. Yannick Sonogo is not good enough to be starting for a team of Arsenal stature. He can't control the football. Now, if Arsenal have any pretensions to challenge for the top 4, they need to sign a centre forward. I know they're being linked with Danny Welbeck, but he is not the answer. He's not a goal scorer. He's not a target man. He's just going to be another player that's going to run around, pass the ball, do some pretty things. It's not what Arsenal need. Arsenal need a centre forward, and they don't have one with Oliver Giroud out. turning to the game generally, Arsenal, a lot of possession, lack of penetration, pretty standard complaint. Leicester, I thought, did well defensively. Wes Morgan, the Oak, was solid. Yeah, took their goal well, defended well. I've been quite impressed with how they've acquitted themselves so far this season, and I think they're not certainties to go down. They've actually impressed me with how they've done so far. Quick look at who I think probably the team of the week is in terms of personnel. Probably just go Begovic in goals, Moreno left back, Shawcross and Wes Morgan centre backs, Ivanovic at right back, Nathan Dyer and Sterling out wide, Schneiderlin and Fabregas in the middle, Diego Costa and Daniel Sturridge up front. Quick look at transfers. Mentioned it briefly earlier on. Falcao to Man U. I don't understand that at all. Why they're looking for another centre forward, but they have two centre forwards already, and I can't see who they're going to drop out of Rooney or Van Persie, and I can't exactly see Van Persie, Falcao, and Rooney play up front together either. The positions they need players for, I think everyone knows, is centre back and defensive midfield. Yeah, like I mentioned, Woodward's doing a shocking job. Yeah, it's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Yeah, Danny Welbeck, strange signing for Arsenal. They need Falcao, and I don't imagine Wenger's made any effort to try and sign Falcao, because he's so stubborn. Any other signings? Diame to Hull, looks like a good signing. They've also signed Abel Hernandez, who's looks maybe a bit raw, but should prove a good signing. Negredo to Valencia, I find quite surprising. He looked very good at stages of last season. He had a good understanding with Sergio Aguero. So unless Man City have a replacement lined up, I'm not entirely sure why they're going to sell him. Oh, that's actually gone quite cold. But yeah, I mean, the transfer window is one of those strange periods of the season. It seems fairly ridiculous to me they don't cut it off before the start of the season, and I don't know whether it's maybe just Sky Sports too much of an input. Great biscuits this week, thanks to Linda Mitchell, delicious. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the roundup on the week that the Balotelli returned to the Premiership. I'll just give you a quick quote from the Book of Football Quotations by Phil Shaw. And it comes from another sporting renegade, Goran Ivanisevic, who commented that, "I like Balotelli. He's someone who can damage himself, the team and his opponent. He can score the winning goal, then set fire to the hotel." So, I hope you enjoyed that. Please view again next week. Any comments, any opinions, please leave them on the YouTube page, and I'll try and answer them. Martin Vox, I know you asked what was Arsenal's big failing against Leicester. Lack of penetration and lack of a decent centre forward, as I've covered. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next week. Ciao.